critical information that needs to get out there to the community from a member of the community. Nobody else can tell that, so if you could explain to me again why it's come about, why a Black person would vote for something that clearly goes against what they're committed to. So can you explain that again?
About Black people living their life by conservative values and then voting against it?
Yeah, correct.
That comes from Black liberation theology, in which the total mindset is that once enough Black people or all Black people are on the same page and on the same level of thinking, then they'll rise up and they'll take over the country or wherever they're from white people. And the reason why that falls apart is because we live under a constitutional system that was meant for all people. Even though you can look through the Constitution and see something like the 14th Amendment, which actually has to do with representation rather than racism, you have people who then adopt a thought process that they have to be in this specific box. And the truth is that what you have inside the document is a framework for all people to live a life of freedom, instead of by class, by race, by rank, by anything. Actually, a lot of people don't realize this, but how you get to World War I is because you had people in Europe who were under that class system that were looking at America and people that they had known, that had gone to America, relatives, friends, that now lived under an American system, that they could succeed. They could live their life at a level and not have to be poor all of their life. Those people wanted that life, and the people that were in charge of them came against them and start pulling in country after country. You get World War I. What we have in the Black community is that kind of same mindset that was present right before then. We have people who will sit up there and pledge allegiance to a political party that holds them down. They make laws, they put forth regulations, and they have rhetoric that actually works against. I heard you talk earlier about the whole thing about abortion. Most people don't realize that were it not for abortion, the population of the Black community would be just about double. Actually, it would be a little bit bigger than double, because one thing that most people never consider is all of the children that all of those people who were aborted would have got together and had. Mm-hmm. So it actually equals out to every Black person. There's supposed to be another Black person on the other side of you. But
and Ulysses, you people know that Margaret Sanger actually started Planned Parenthood.
Exactly.
Most people exterminate Black people. People don't know that.
Exactly. Margaret Sanger started the Negro Project specifically for the purpose of wiping out Black people.
Exactly.
And there's some fuzziness about what I'm about to say next, but it's been kind of circulated that actually she was so good at it that after a conversation with Adolf Hitler, then you get the Holocaust, because he saw the success of being able to do it. But you have that move up from Margaret Sanger, which then turned to Planned Parenthood, which was in the business of exterminating Black people to that point. Now you have a Democratic Party who has its first Black president, is the first president ever to go to a Planned Parenthood meeting and declare that they will always have a friend in the White House as long as he is there. That level of, as Herman Cain put it, brainwashing is what you have to fight against. That's what we have to come against. That's gonna be the problem. Because the fact is, and like I said, me and Charlotte talked about this, the fact is that whenever it comes to the Black community and that level of brainwashing, the main problem with that is that you have a people who then turn around and look at, well, you know, we've been ignored by the Republican Party. We've been pushed aside by the Republican Party. Not necessarily. What you have is the Republican Party who has said, look, if you come to us, there might not necessarily be any special carve-outs for you, because I believe that you can do it yourself. I don't believe that you're simple-minded. I don't believe that you need a leg up. I don't believe that you're handicapped. I believe that you as a black person have the same ability to be able to do everything that I do over here. After a while of constantly, because of the brainwashing of the Democratic community and Democratic Party, after a while of reaching out and constantly having your hand slapped, you just stop asking. You stop going to them. So that's where you get this sense of, well, you know, the Republicans don't care about black people. No, Republicans think that you are capable of doing things all by yourself. Republicans believe that you can make it just like I can. And that's going to be the hard part, because you have the Democratic community who has put things in people. I mean, right now I'm going to school to become a civics and a history teacher. Well, a lot of the headache in that is that whenever you present that to people, the history, the thinking, and everything, wow, you know, we need so many. It would be so good to have black teachers for our black children so that they can learn properly. So let me get this straight. Let me understand this, because there's a difference. That's the victim mindset that says that. Now, somebody who does not have that victim mindset is how I get in trouble a lot of times, is I'll go, so you're saying to me that every other color, every other ethnicity on the planet can learn from every other ethnicity, but you believe that there's something so wrong and twisted and broken in black people that they can only learn or only gain anything from somebody that looks just like them. That sounds racist.
Let me add something to what you said also, and this comes from my having an opportunity to interview a number of people. What we tend to do is we tend to accredit someone with actions that they have done years ago. Mm-hmm. I spoke to a lady, and she said, oh, I love Steve Cohen. And I said, well, what has he done for you lately? She said, well, he did so many of the things when he first got elected, and so therefore I have to continue to vote for him. I said, but what has he done for you lately? She said, well, I don't know, maybe I need to start looking into that to see. That's what happened back during the 60s, after Dr. Martin Luther King passed away or was assassinated. Democrats came forth and provided housing opportunities, provided busing. At that time, people thought it was a good thing. Black people tend to remember those things and pass that on to their children through the generations. Mm-hmm. But what we tend to do is we tend to remember what happened historically, instead of looking at what is happening today in terms of the oppression that is occurring and the oppression that is affecting our communities and our children adversely. Also, there is this thing called, I don't want to not be accepted. If I come out and say that I support Republicans, they're not going to like me. I prefer to be liked, even though my home is crashing down around me, even though my children are being murdered in the streets, even though we're sending our children to schools which are not educating them for 21st century standards. We still think back to what happened in '68, and then we are taught to constantly revive slavery. And there's nobody in this world who is living today has ever been a slave.
Mm-hmm. And that level of thinking is what we need up there in the seat in the 9th district. That's what we need.